Today on Monkey Life, orangutan Kai and his two ladies, Linga and Jolie, survey their new Spanish home. But who'll be brave enough to venture out?
Linga is much more independent than Jolie, so coming outside will be easier for her than it will be for Jolie.
Marmosets Chuck and Sid are introduced, but there's a surprise in store for Alison and the team.
Look, how funny.
And the lemurs go potty for parsley. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
We've really done everything we can to make her journey as smooth as possible.
The park provides a home for more than 250 monkeys and apes from 20 different species. It's going to be another big day for two small monkeys. Yesterday, common marmosets Sid and Chuck were rescued from the British pet trade, taking the number now housed at the park up to 30. Since they arrived, the two boys have been in bedrooms opposite each other. This morning, they're going to meet and hopefully become good friends. Chuck is very active, but Sid had rickets as a youngster due to a lack of vitamin D3 from sunlight and an inappropriate diet, and so he's not as mobile.
Overnight, these guys have actually done pretty well. Chuck looks like he's been living here for years. He's been throwing himself around the enclosure, playing, and just seems really relaxed and really happy. Sid is a bit quieter. He seems a little bit more nervous. He's not moving around as much anyway. I think because of his mobility, it's taking him a little bit longer to suss out sort of how he can move around. But he seems settled, he seems reasonably relaxed. A few nervous twitters, but all in all, they seem pretty settled.
While being kept as pets, Chuck and Sid had both been living alone. But they've been making contact calls and checking each other out across the corridor. All good signs for the introduction. Steph and Alison are keen to see how they'll get on.
It's going to be daunting. Neither of them have ever met another marmoset before, so it'll be a bit of a shock for them. I think the main problem if Chuck comes running straight in and he wants to play, I don't know how Sid will handle that because, of course, he can't move around quite in the same way. He can't sort of flit about the way that Chuck's doing.
There's no time like the present, so the doors between them are opened.
Be nice and calm, buddy.
He's not really a calm person.
No.
The boys are now free to meet each other.
You come and see Sid?
As predicted, it's confident Chuck that takes the lead. But he soon loses his bottle. These things can take time, especially when you've never met another marmoset before. And Sid's in no rush. It's not long before Chuck's back, and this time he heads right into Sid's room. But it's now shy Sid being the bravest.
At the moment, we're going pretty well. I was worried Chuck might come in too much for Sid, but actually, he came in nicely, he had a little look, went back, and it's now Sid that's desperate to say hello to Chuck.
And as they move around the room, Steph and Alison get a good look at the duo. And Sid needs an even closer inspection.
It's difficult because he holds his legs so close together.
No, I know. There's a little bulge.
There's no...
Cojones,
Yeah.
as such.
Might be castrate and we just haven't had a good look, but it's looking a little feminine.
I'm thinking it's a girl. There are no testicles.
I see nothing that points towards boy.
Look. I think it's a girl. There's no penis there.
No. Sydney.
Yeah. How funny.
Oh, Chuck, you've got a girlfriend. We think Sid may actually be Sydney with a Y. I think we actually have ourselves a female marmoset, not a male marmoset.
It's a bit of a surprise for the team. But it's not the first time this has happened.
So now that we know we have a male and a female here, we're going to have to look at birth control because obviously we don't want to breed here. We want any space that we have for rescue animals rather than breeding and filling up space that way. Yeah, it's not a problem, just a bit of a curveball, really.
It may be that Chuck and Sid turn out to be more than just good friends.
As long as these two keep playing nicely, then they'll stay together. And yeah, I think makes things look pretty positive at the moment.
Over at the Gibbon house, one of the residents is also looking for a new friend. Golden-cheeked gibbon Mikado arrived at the park 6 years ago as an orphan after a difficult start in life.
Mikado was born in a zoo in France, and he was just 3 weeks of age when his elderly mother died of natural causes, so he actually came to us for hand rearing. To start with, he needed full-time care, so the first few months he was with primate care staff all the time.
But Mikado needed to meet other gibbons, and as soon as he was ready, the team began to introduce him to adult female Alex.
She actually was really lovely towards him, and they were soon living together full time. And she's basically acted as a surrogate mum for him. He's learned how to be a gibbon from Alex and watching her and his interactions with her. And it's been a really crucial relationship in his life, because that really showed him, you know, how gibbons interact with each other, how they communicate with each other, how they move, what the body language means, all those things that are really going to help him when he meets a lady in his future.
Mikado has thrived with Alex's care and companionship and has developed into a real personality.
Mikado over the years, basically he's a bit of a goon. He kind of loves to play, and he loves to just get up to mischief.
But now he's on the way to reaching sexual maturity, and the happy-go-lucky youngster is changing.
Right now he's going through that sort of age where he's changing his personality. He's starting to become a young man. He's wanting to be aggressively territorial. He wants to be in charge of things. He wants to start finding himself a young lady friend and sort of, you know, set up his life for his future.
But Mikado's transformation to bolshy teenager and young adult have been difficult for elderly Alex.
We've seen that Alex has actually become very wary and self-conscious around him. And so for her well-being, we've taken him out of the enclosure from her, and we've actually got them now separate. Alex is now absolutely loving life. She's loving having the peace and quiet. We've put this hammock up in her enclosure, which as far as she's concerned is the best thing ever. She's just taking life at a much easier pace without the stress and upheaval of having a young adolescent male tearing around her.
Mikado is also in his own enclosure. At this age in the wild, males usually leave their parents to search for their own territory and a mate.
Right now, this bit of time that he's actually on his own will really help him to just develop into a young man. So hopefully we'll see that this will just keep progressing.
In the future, the park will need to find Mikado a female companion or maybe some male friends to hang out with. In the centre of the park, at the Malagasy enclosure, there's a hint of perfume in the air. It's the home of the ring-tailed lemurs, a species who rely heavily on their sense of smell. So today, Steph, from the primate care team, has a fragrant treat in store for them.
We've got some lavender, we've got some basil, some mint and some thyme as well. The lemurs are all about different scents. They've got a really good sense of smell. So hopefully things like lavender are going to get them investigating and really interested when we hang them up for them. The bonus with all the plants that we're hanging up today is they're all actually edible as well, so they might want to have a little try, a little taste as well. So hopefully not only the smell, but also the taste will be interesting for them.
Ring-tailed lemurs are endemic to Madagascar. Apes and monkeys mostly use sight and sound as their primary senses, but lemurs rely a lot on their sense of smell.
They've got those long snout-like noses that help funnel in all the smells, and they've also got a wet nose, like a dog does, which helps with the sense of smell as well.
They also have powerful scent glands on their wrists and under their tails. And they use their odours to communicate with each other. As scent is so important to lemurs, Steph is hoping the herbs will spark their enthusiasm. But the laid-back lemurs appear a little underwhelmed by Steph's efforts.
You do the lovely things for them, and this is the thanks that you get.
Undeterred, she decides a more proactive approach is needed. And as the lemurs won't come to the herbs, she takes the herbs to them. And it seems to work. Houdini and Indiana now can't get enough of the parsley. And the mood starts to spread, with everyone joining in. And the outstanding dish of the day for the lemurs is the parsley. It wasn't easy getting the lemurs active and interested, but Steph's persistence paid off.
So we kind of got there in the end. It was just more of a sort of slow and steady investigation rather than straight away enthusiasm.
At least she now knows parsley is a lemur's preference, while lavender is off the menu. The park is the European creche for orphaned orangutans and specialises in looking after rejected orang babies. But as they grow up and mature, the youngsters need to move on to new homes elsewhere to make room for new babies to come to the park and benefit from the team's expertise and care. Recently, orangutan pals Kai, Jolie and Linga, who all grew up at the park, left to start a new group in southeast Spain at Rio Safari Elche. It was a big move for the trio. Kai was born at Monkey World, and Jolie and Linga arrived as rejected orphans more than 9 years ago. Linga from France and Jolie from Russia. Jeremy had a big hand in their upbringing, so he took on the task of driving them nearly 1,500 miles to their new Spanish home. He was keen to help them settle in and to brief the new team who will care for them in the future.
I don't think there'll be any problems with these. They know each other very well.
So far, the move has been progressing well.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Is that nice? Is that good?
And their new Spanish care team have also been very impressed with their new charges.
We've been very happy. They are very chill, they're very calm, they're getting along very well. To the keepers as well, they're being very responsive.
An important member of the new care team is head keeper Pilar,
Good morning.
who is also a vet. During the long journey south, Kai became quite agitated at times and suffered a few minor cuts and bruises, so she wants to check him over and clean them up.
Kai! Hey, Kai!
All 3 orangutans will eventually get used to their keepers communicating with them in Spanish. But as with all language lessons, it's little by little.
At this moment, I prefer to use the English for these things, face, shoulder. So I think they know, they will understand better that I say.
Good boy, Kai. When to go? When to go?
They are very intelligent, so they need a little time for trusting me and in the other keepers, but it's normal.
What is also normal is for orangutans to check out every nook and cranny, nut and bolt when something is new, and Linga is no exception.
Orangs are terribly mechanical, and she went and checked. They will always check out the facility, check out the nuts and bolts and the ropes and see what we can wreck, see if they've used the old left-handed thread ploy to try and stop me getting the nut undone and all that sort of stuff. And it's just what they are. It's the way they think.
While Linga continues to check over the indoor playroom, the keepers scatter treats in the outdoor enclosure. So far, only Kai has been brave enough to venture outside. This morning, Jeremy's hoping the two girls will join him. But they'll only do it when they're good and ready, which Jeremy feels is a good thing.
I really like these things to go at a slow pace. And if they come out of that house like a bullet from a gun, then A, they might keep going, and B, they might, if they've got the adrenaline going, they might not realise when they do settle down how to get back in. And they just need time to get to know the place, and that'll happen. I'm sure it'll happen.
Today, Kai is first to take a look, but he isn't in a hurry to go out. The girls are even more laid back. It's time for a bit of bribery. The orangs are kept in while a little browse and some bottles of juice are put out to tempt them. It seems to be working. But orangs are clever. Kai just picks up the bottles and heads back in. Linga decides to see for herself what all the fuss is about. Curiosity gets the better of her and she heads straight out. Not wanting to miss out, Kai decides to follow. Linga's bravery is rewarded. And she sets about finding more goodies.
The fact that Linga came out and Jolie didn't, sort of, after, when you really think about it afterwards, you think, well, Linga's a much more independent person than Jolie. And it really is that simple. Linga is much more independent than Jolie, so coming outside will be easier for her than it will be for Jolie. I mean, it's not, you don't need to be some psychoanalyst to work that one out. It's quite, it's quite elementary. And obviously Kai's a boy and he'll just go where the mood takes him. So, it's all good. It's all good stuff.
Linga and Kai have found their way back indoors, and Jeremy's happy all three orangs are settling in well, and he can leave them in the care of their new keepers.
No, thank you. Thank you. See you. Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
You can see
Your
us.
house. Huh?
Yeah. So,
Please.
say,
Come back.
You look after yourself.
To see you again.
You will.
Soon.
He'll continue to get regular reports from the Spanish team so he can monitor the orangutan's progress.
Thank you.
Back at the park, the weather has turned rainy. But it's nothing Hananya and his group haven't seen before. And in the wild, a chimp's natural habitat is the rainforest. But why get soaking wet when you can take shelter? A cosy bedsheet makes a great mak. And there are plenty of useful dry spots. But in a typical British summer, it's impossible for the chimps to dodge the rain altogether. They take a little extra care when moving around in the wet, but they're expert acrobats on the high hoses and poles. A head for heights is another good skill to master. For leader Hananya, it means he can survey far and wide across his enclosure and beyond. Everyone's busy doing something, and Hananya likes to keep an eye on the whole group. Young Thelma is riding on Mum Cherry's tummy, a useful safe haven from the rain, which just keeps on falling. Hananya's got work to do. He sets off for a closer inspection of the chimp's home. He checks all around the climbing frame, then moves down to patrol on the ground. He's busy inspecting his territory downstairs as Thelma hitches a ride upstairs with Mum. But there's no respite from the rain. It just keeps on coming. Simon hoovers up the drops. And with everything so wet and slippery, Shamak scoops up little Thelma, just in case. But it seems rain can't dampen a chimp's ardour, and female Tuti wants to make sure dominant male Hananya knows she's around. Oblivious to her charms, he's enjoying a good back rub. But not for long. Tuti's in hot pursuit. She's determined not to let him out of her sight. But Hananya's just not in the mood. Eventually, there's a break in the weather. Thelma resumes her normal style of riding piggyback on Mum before heading off to play. And Hananya takes the opportunity to hang out with some other pals, leaving smitten Tuti casting long looks from the sidelines. Next time on Monkey Life.
She's pretty chilled, actually.
Marmoset Sid and Chuck have their health checks, and it's a snip for Chuck.
It's had a rough morning.
And woolly monkey Olivia is becoming more independent.